Hello there, welcome to Black Pig Printmaking Studio here in Frome in Somerset in the UK. My name is Chris Pig, and today what I'm going to attempt to show you, although I'm bound to forget something, is the whole process of editioning a largish print, okay? I will forget something, so I appreciate it when people contact me, especially if they've got something nice to say, but also I'm okay with criticism, and pass it on. If you like what I do, then share it with other people. First thing I'm going to do, first of all, you've got to think about your prep, okay? Prep can take a really long time. Sometimes it takes me a morning to get everything right to start editioning. Once your prep is sorted though, it speeds the whole process up because there's no variables there, everything's where it needs to be, blah blah. First thing I'm going to do is, thankfully the lighter works, I've noticed a couple of hell hairs on this, so I'm just going to burn those off. What are hell hairs, I hear you chorus? Well, they're those little bits of backing that protrude from the surface, and they can pick up ink and fuck up an otherwise perfect print. All right, so that's that. Secondly, normally in the studio we're using rollers like this, but when it comes to editioning, because it's onerous and you want to speed up the whole process, I use litho rollers. That's pretty important. Your mixture for your ink, it's up to you, of course. What I do personally is 60% linseed oil, 40% extender, and a couple of drops of cobalt, because otherwise it can take forever for the prints to dry. Right, so I'm going to attempt to do this all in one go without any outtakes. This ink had some skin on it the other day, and it produced what we call monks. Monks are little black flecks on the surface of the print, and it means that, very annoyingly, although it's a perfect proof, in every other respect, it has to be binned, sadly. Right, now you can tell more or less if your block is inked up correctly from what's known as the sparkle. So you have to look at it in a raking light and see if it's all over evenly sparkly. And this is the moment when, if you see any aeolian detritus, that is airborne particles that fall onto your block, which would cause a white dot, which is known as a fryer, then you get this rather expensive, for what I'm using it for, rather expensive tool called a scraper burnisher, and you hoik the bits out with that. You could use anything though, you know, like a knife or something would probably do the job. I have to turn my back on you now, hope you don't think that's rude. What I've done is, on the travelling bed, I've already drawn out with a Sharpie where the block is to go and where the paper is to go, okay? Paper I keep in a nearby drawer. The paper I use is South Bank Smooth, 160 gram. Now, you might not be able to find that on John Purcell's website. John Purcell is a fantastic paper manufacturers and sellers. I would go nowhere else. They might not have 160 gram on the website, but they've got it if you ask for it. Notice that I'm using grips. This is because my hands might be dirty, and again it would be tragic if the print was perfect except for a great big inky dab on one corner, wouldn't it? So over to the press. Line it up and let it go. Now, some people don't use a blanket at all. Some people use just a blanket. I tend to use a blanket and 2mm grey board. The reason for this is because when you're taking print through on a cylinder press that's big like this, the emboss can create creases in the paper, and that's not acceptable for sale. Okay, so I put grey board on top. Some people have runners which are cut from the same type of marmoleum or linoleum at the edges, so that the roller sits on those and it's on the same on the same level, which also prevents that. Never really got on with the runners though. They always get in the way or something. They piss me off. So I'm happier with grey board. I've done one on health and safety, so I'll spare you the grisly details on that one. Normally, when I'm not being observed, I let the handle go and I spin the wheel, which is naughty. You shouldn't do that. Quite dangerous. At the risk of repeating myself, Norman Ackroyd once said to me, if you get your technique right, you've eliminated 80% of the opposition. And he's right. So there you go, Large Hill near Longleat. This print is an edition of 300, which is quite a large edition for me. And I print them up in batches because we don't have that much space. And I put them all in ball racks, as you can see up there. I really can't be doing with those flat racks. Stuff falls down the back of them and they take up too much room in the studio. And they're ugly. Not enough attention is paid to the environment that you work in, and you've got to make it as nice as you possibly can. If you're working in there all day, why wouldn't you? So up it goes. I know I've abandoned the grips. I'd like you to overlook that fact. And that is extra annoying. Never happens when I'm not filming. There you go. Another 25 to do today, and then we'll call it a day. Don't forget to watch me on Instagram as well. I have little shorts on there which are quite cool as well. Goodbye from Black Pig.